Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, January 19th. The time is 11:01, and we will commence to start the Technology Committee meeting. I will start with a roll call just to ensure that we have a quorum. So Alex Bittencourt is present.
Present.
Thank you. Director DCA Perry.
Present. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Myself, Commissioner Carthen, and we are expecting Commissioner Henry Mitchell III to join us momentarily. But at this point, we do have a quorum to carry out business. Has everyone had a chance to look at the meeting minutes from our last committee meeting on October 20th, 2022? Are there any corrections, updates, or additions or deletions that need to be made to that particular, to those particular minutes? If not, the meeting minutes from 10/2022 will stand as presented and approved. We will now go into our agenda for the Technology Committee meeting starting today. We have our Mr. Bittencourt, I will let you take over the agenda.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So the next item on the list is if we have any commissioner business.
We don't have any commissioner business, Mr. Bittencourt. We'll let you take over with why we call this meeting a little earlier than necessary. Well, it was necessary, but a little earlier than we had anticipated.
Agreed. And then just to move forward, any county administrator business or comments?
No, sir. None as of now. Alex, thank you.
Okay, great. And then moving over to discussion items, we have 3 discussion items this morning. The first one that I'd like to start out with is you all should have received an Excel spreadsheet with the status of the project, the ARPA project for 2022. And I'll share my screen as well so we can see that.
Okay.
Let me know if y'all see that.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll go down the list quickly. So we have our GIS cloud migration. One of the things we adopted last year was to move all our GIS infrastructure to the cloud, which allows us to put the dependency on updates and performance on the AWS cloud and our software provider, so that we make sure that we're always up to date, we're always at best performance for that department. As you all know, GIS gets highly utilized these days because of their access to data throughout the county, and also for the tax commissioners and the tax assessor's office. So their servers, their hardware was getting a little bit out of date and underperformance. So we decided to go ahead and follow through what other municipalities and agencies have been doing, and then just go ahead and move that up to the cloud. Next item was our end of life for our laptops and other equipment. Last year, as you all remember, hardware and everything was at a premium at the pricing. So our $100,000 didn't get us very far, unfortunately, but we were able to provide those critical hardware for those departments that really needed them. So we were able to complete that. We have the tax commissioner security camera system upgrade. We contracted a company to come on add some cameras. There's still some pending work with getting access to the cameras remotely and through the app. As we installed the cameras, we realized that we needed some administrative rights and passwords for the current system that was there that we did not have. So we're working on that with that vendor to get that access for that previous vendor. The next one, number 6, is probably one of the more critical projects that we deployed, which is our Darktrace cybersecurity prevention and monitoring tool. This has been something that has been very, very helpful. We see the reports every day of the amount of intrusions. It prevents the amount of cybersecurity breaches that it would probably have saved us from. This is a system that uses AI technology, so it not only scans our external network, our WAN, for incoming attacks, but also monitors our current environment for unusual behaviors, what are usually indicative of something not being right or some foreign entity or a bad actor inside a network, and it'll shut it down immediately. So it doesn't depend solely on our user input. You know, if something's happening at 3 o'clock in the morning, by the time we get the alert, it might be too late. So the system goes ahead and acts on it, suspends that activity, disables the account. So it gives us a time to investigate before something really bad happens. So,
Director Betancourt, I have a question regarding that.
yes.
Is this what took place a few weeks ago when the system was down? I know we couldn't log into New World and we couldn't really get to certain software. Is that what happened? Was that preventative, or was that just a one-off?
No, that was actually we determined that was a hardware issue with our
Okay.
VX Rails. One of the our VX Rails is getting up there in age. It's about 7 years old. So one of the hard drives, actually, it's a fault tolerance of 3 hard drives, and 2 of the hard drives went bad. Luckily, we have 4-hour critical support from Dell, so they were able to get out here and get a new one in. But that suspended all our virtual machines, all virtual servers that run New World.
Okay.
So hopefully, when we go to the cloud, we don't have to worry about that.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen. Next, we have our network performing and monitoring tool. We actually added a module from Darktrace to do that. It monitors not only our network activity and our bandwidth, but also if somebody is trying to access areas in the network, like if you have an employee from some department trying to get in an HR file that they're usually not supposed to get into, we get alert to that. If it's repetitive, somebody's trying to copy like a big file to a USB drive, that's usually not a good sign. We get an alert for that. So, you know, Big Brother's watching. Our remote support tools for our computers and servers, that was a big thing. Last year we you know, when I took over the department, we didn't have a utility to provide support for users off-site, which is a big problem because at that time a lot of our users were off-site. So we deployed ConnectWise, which allows us to support our users and monitor their computers, and also push out updates, critical security updates to their computers from anywhere in the world that they have with an internet connection. So that allows our support department to have an extended reach of our hardware and of our support, no matter where you are, no matter where we are, because it's cloud-based. So.
Okay, got you. Do you happen to know offhand, or DCA Perry may know this, how many people are still working remote that you're having to support?
From our end, it's we're a hybrid environment, you know, right now. So, and DCA Perry can correct me if I'm wrong, but we directors set some schedules for certain individuals that can't perform their jobs remotely. So we do have not as big as 2021 or 2020, obviously, but we still have a percentage of our staff that is on a hybrid schedule or has the ability to work from home.
Yeah, and if I could add, Madam Committee Chair, I think countywide, I would put it around 30% of our employees are still hybrid, you know, meaning that they work some days from home. And, you know, that was just, even though we were forced into it during COVID, it was very popular, you know, and we didn't see really any drop off, and we outfitted the county such that most of our employees began to get laptops instead of desktops, and so on and so forth. So we left it up to the, although we bought them all back into the courthouse, we left it up to the department head as to whether they wanted to allow their staff to continue to work 1 or 2 days from home, and that seems to be the case.
Okay. say about 30% is what the IT department is probably having to support remotely with these tools. Okay.
Yeah, and also, we have about 30 sites that we support, all the fire stations and all of that. So we try to do that remotely as possible. So our concentration of employees are not just in the courthouse or in the fire stations and the different buildings and around the county. All right, moving forward, we have our multi-factor authentication project. We have all the configuration done and testing for that. We have a platform set in place. We're going to start, we tested it with our department. We're going to try to start pushing out departments by groups. And what this will allow is when you log into your computer, when you log into your email, similar to what we have with Office 365, you're going to get a text message with a code that you have to input. And the reason we're doing that is obviously for security. If your account gets compromised, there's that second layer of protection, but also because in these days we can't. Next is
Alex, we lost you for a
We
second.
love you for a minute.
I'm sorry. So did you hear?
The last thing we heard you say was these days we can't. And
we can't. These days it's difficult to get cybersecurity liability policy without having that system in place.
Yes.
So it's a prerequisite for most insurance carriers, which there's a lot fewer today that are providing cybersecurity liability for government agencies.
Yeah.
Next up, we installed a backup AC unit in our server room, and just in time because our main AC unit broke. So we got that completed. It took a while because of the supply chain issues, but that was finally completed, I believe, in August of last year. And we also had to add additional backup services for additional backup storage for our DA's office. As you all know, we're under obligation, both federally and by the state, to retain digital evidence and video for case files for a very lengthy amount of time. As law enforcement agencies move into the future, that includes a lot of video footage and a lot of high definition video footage that are very large files. Unfortunately, that it's still more cost effective to store these locally than to pay offsite storage. So we are having to upgrade these once in a while. And when we move over to the next section of the 2023 projects, we'll see some upgrades that we still have to do. But we were able to get them set up for this year with that. And then following through, we had some maintenance stuff, additional phones and phone licenses for the departments. Every time we add a user, we have to add a phone license, we have to have desk phones. So that was that cost. We had our file security monitoring tool. That's the same module that we use for our network performance monitoring from Darktrace, where we can tell people, we have an audit log of what people are accessing and when they're accessing it for if we ever have some liability issues that we have to investigate, we have that capability. We have our permitting software, which we are very proud to announce we finally selected one. The contract is with the legal team right now. We're moving forward with Camino, which is pretty standard for agencies our size. And pretty soon, once this gets deployed, our citizens will be able to go online into a portal and pay for the business licenses, submit permit requests, pay for those permit requests, and track the progress of these permits online from our development services department. Right now, we don't have that capability, and people would have to come into the office to submit those permits and pay for those fees. And you wouldn't really know what's going on until you get here or you call in. So we want to digitize that and make government services available online as much as possible, so our constituents will have to track over here and take a day off from work and do all of that. So that's moving along pretty smoothly.
I just want to say thank you for that. I have heard so many people ask about that. You know, why don't you all put it online? And so I'm glad to know that. And I'm assuming that you're working with James Worthington in that department to ensure. Yeah, this is customer service at its best when people can access stuff, you know, at their convenience.
Absolutely. Yeah, our priority is just to make, in my opinion, is to make government services as available as possible through technology. So yeah, James and his team, we put together a selection committee and we evaluated a couple of, pretty standard. Camino was the one that provided all the, checked all the boxes for us. So once legal signs off on the agreement, deployment will take a little bit because when we're coming from nothing, we have to build from scratch.
Okay.
So all of our permit applications, all of our licensing information has to be input manually and built out by their software team. So, but we anticipate that it'll be up sometime this year and available to the public.
Sounds good. Keep moving.
We also are in the process of adding our libraries to our internal county network, which will allow them to be part of our phone systems. They have pretty terrible experiences with their current phone systems, which means that it's difficult for citizens to get in touch with the libraries and call in for questions or support. So we are adding them to our internal fiber network. As you know, all of our sites in the county are connected back to the courthouse through dark fiber or ENF circuits. The library was not part of that project initially, but I wanted to make sure that they got on that, just so we can support them better and they'd be part of our internal security cloud. Everything that's on that fiber network is covered by our security protocols and preventive measures. So once they get that installed, Comcast is out there doing the fiber installation. They'll also be able to be on our phone system, which they'll be able to dial extensions directly to the county, and we'll have the same switchboard capabilities that we have at the courthouse for their petitions.
Director Betancourt, do you know if they were on the West Georgia Regional Library phone system? Is that the system that they were using?
Yeah, they're using the West Georgia Library regional systems for all their IT needs. So phone system, internet, computer support. So from what I understand from Libby, they're still going to be using the West Regional Library system for their the computers that they have access, that the public has access to.
Okay.
And we actually went ahead and we donated a bunch of surplus desktops and monitors that we have at the courthouse to the libraries for the public to use. And those are wiped and installed and set up. So we want to eventually have a computer lab up there that citizens can come in and use and for whatever their needs are. So that'll still be maintained as part of the contract for the West Regional Library system. But the internet services and the phone services will be part of our county.
Okay, that's good to know because we just authorized the contract and the payment to them on yesterday. So it's good to kind of know which segment is ours and which segment is theirs. And I'm hoping you will keep me abreast on that to kind of let me know what we should be doing if necessary to bring it in because
absolutely.
So
yeah, absolutely. We'll define a division of responsibility for that, and then we can extrapolate that from that contract going forward. The next is I think what's our biggest project currently is just moving our New World software to the cloud. New World, as you know, is our main line of business application for finance, HR, purchasing, procurement, basically the main functions of the operations departments. Moving into the cloud will make us less hardware dependency, which I'm a big fan of, and it will enhance our security capabilities because not only will they be protected by our security infrastructure, but also by the Tyler cloud system, which is very secure. It'll also guarantee uptime, push out updates, have better access to support, and it'll be a completely not different but upgraded system to what we currently have because they're on-prem technology. They're moving away from, so there hasn't been a lot of innovation. Well, there won't be a lot of innovation going forward on the on-prem side as they push their cloud services out to their clients. So that project took a little bit on the legal side, but the Thompson and Hine teams were amazing. It was a very large software as a service contract, and we had to go line by line, make sure all our privacy was protected, make sure that the support responsibilities were outlined clearly, our expectations for performance was outlined clearly, and gave us an ability to terminate the contract if they didn't meet certain benchmarks of performance. So we got that finally squared away and got it signed. And now we're working with the project management team to schedule this migration. From what I hear, Cobb County just went through this a couple of months ago, and it was pretty seamless for them. So because it's the same software vendor, migrating those modules shouldn't be an issue. They shouldn't have to convert a lot of data moving forward. So we're hoping that we get it done this year. Well, I know we're getting it done this year, and it'll be live somewhere on third or fourth quarter. And also, this will allow us to be able to access new world without going through our current VPN system. It would have multi-factor authentication. It would also tie in with our internal system, so you'll be able to log in with the same username and password that you do on your computer.
That's what I was going to ask.
Two sets of credentials, yeah. So it ties into Azure, which that's where our login credentials are managed. So you'll have the same login, which will make it a lot easier when you change your passwords, and it'll be compliant with a password complexity policy. As you know, it's very stringent. So that's all good things. And the main point, it'll take us away from the dependency of hardware and infrastructure for the county. As much money as we invest in our hardware infrastructure, we'll never be able to compete with a multi-billion dollar business. So moving forward, we have our network and switch end of life replacement. So we replace as much as we could our internal network with that. We did have some computer upgrades for the libraries. It didn't cost what we budgeted for wasn't nearly as much as they needed. Like I said, most of their public computers are handled by the West Regional Library System. So internally, they only had about 10 computers that they had to replace and laptops they had to replace. So we have funding there still. Another big project is the audio-visual upgrades for the courtrooms. And we decided to start with the Superior Court system because of their jury trials and because of the type of cases that they handled are criminal and lengthy cases. So Chief Judge McLean decided to try that court out, replace that court system. So it's 3 courts that we're doing, 3 courtrooms. Right now, as we speak, Judge Adams and Judge Warren's courtrooms are being upgraded. And it's not just an upgrade. We are ripping off the old system, installing a brand new system. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the system that's in Judge McLean's courtroom with the digital evidence presentation and the virtual court capabilities, but that's exactly what we're doing for those other courtrooms. We'll be able to have virtual court from the jails, so the deputies don't necessarily have to bring in all the inmates into the courthouse. They'll be able to do, if we have another, God forbid, another pandemic situation, if we have to do virtual court, they can do virtual court. We'll also have better displays and evidence display systems for the jury. Obviously better audio visual. The first phase of this project is the audio part. So they're getting that installed. Judge Adams' courtroom was severely affected by their audio capabilities. Um, I think it came to a point where we had to rent like a jukebox system in her courtroom. So that's getting taken care of right now. It should be done by Friday. It should be done actually today, and then training will be done on Friday. And then they'll come back in a couple of weeks when the Crestron system, which they're using for the video part, comes in, because those things are even more backloaded than anything else.
Okay.
Um,
Before we go on, I know this was one of the items that Commissioner Mitchell was very adamant about us completing. So, Commissioner Mitchell, do you have any questions in regards to the courtroom AV upgrades?
Oh no, he's actually right on point, and
Okay.
we've had some other conversations, so that's good to know that we're moving that project right along though. But I do, Alex, are we only looking at Judge Adams, or are we going through everybody to kind of get it all done? I don't know if we got the funding to pull it off, but is it Adams and everybody else, Judge Adams and everybody else, or just Judge Adams for right now?
So for right now, for part of 2022, it's all of Superior Court. So Judge Adams, Judge Warren, and Judge McLean's conference room has already been done previous to that. So all of the courtrooms in Superior Court, when we do the presentation for the 2023 ARPA projects proposal, we would continue down. We're going to request funding to keep going with the rest of the courtrooms. And then the way that we've been handling is that I consult with Chief Judge McLean, and he decides since he's the Chief Judge, he decides the priority of the courtrooms that need to get upgraded.
Perfect. Well, now one other question though. So are we going and hardwiring everything outside of the norm, or are we using the existing wiring to kind of build from there? Kind of what's your thought or plan in that though?
It's a complete rip out. Cabling, connectors, no XLR cable will be reused.
Okay, great. Okay.
And mainly because the last time the court audio was upgraded was in the 80s, so we don't have anything that's compatible with any new.
That's correct. Yes.
New hardware. So.
Okay. All righty. Well, good enough. Thank you again, and that's all I got.
Okay, moving forward, we are also looking into a risk and safety software platform. Right now, they are using some in-house access database to manage their case files. We're looking at a software called Origami. I believe Justin and his team, along with Justine, looked into and had a presentation from this software provider. We have neighboring counties. I believe DeKalb uses it, and it's a system that will tie in with our insurance providers, and they'll be able to manage our cases and track the progress of all of that. We went through the evaluation phase, and we decided that it's something that would be very helpful for us. And now we're going through the contract evaluation phase of that to make sure that they're also a cloud provider, to make sure that their software as a service agreement is up to par with the county.
Okay, so this will be a SaaS agreement. Okay, DCA Perry, can you speak to Commissioner Mitchell and I about this particular one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Okay.
As we're bringing the risk and safety department up to the 21st century. And, it'll alleviate a lot of paper. It'll alleviate a lot of emailing back and forth and, miscommunication and what have you. This will give us, as Alex mentioned, direct contact with our insurance providers. So, should in the event that we have a claim, this software will allow us to talk directly with those providers, and it's real time, and so it'll speed up our process and make things a lot more efficient and a lot more seamless. So as Alex mentioned, this is something that some of the counties in our surrounding areas are utilizing, and they have had great results with it. So it comes highly recommended, and I'm excited about it.
Okay. And right now, I know we don't have to totally get into it, but with risk and safety, are we Are we reshaping that department, DCA, or okay, all right.
We're right now we are Justin, of course, is the point person there, and we are formulating how we want to move forward with the position. ACA and I are looking at the job description for the risk and safety director to see if we want that to continue to be a director, or if we want to move that department as a whole under either finance or under human resources. This is what we've been finding. We're trying to find out whether it's a return on investment on that, or is it just best to leave it as a standalone department. But there will be some changes in that department, including a new director or manager to head that charge.
Okay, because it's really important. It's one of those pieces that executive session we're always talking about. Where we are in terms of things like that with the attorneys. So okay, any questions regarding that, Commissioner Mitchell? That's an interesting.
Right. No, ma'am. No. All is good.
All right. Go ahead, Alex. Thank you, DCA Perry.
So we'll hope to complete that this year. Like I said, this is one of the departments that they're getting software implementation from scratch. So a lot of the stuff has to be done manually. A lot of these cases that they're currently managing in an Access database and historical cases have to be put in manually, so we have history and tracking going forward.
Okay.
Moving forward, we have a intercom replacement system for the senior services building at Woody Fight. We're currently working with different vendors to get a few quotes. This is something that I'm not usually in charge of, but it was something that was requested in their technology request. So we have our project manager in our department that's tracking down and getting quotes from vendors to upgrade their intercom system throughout the Woody Fight location. We have a copier replacement for DOT. By the time that we got to Miguel, they have already replaced a copier, so he requested some upgrades for the traffic control unit. That's a department that's been, or a section of their department that's very vital to the county, and they need specific computers and hardware to manage the traffic lights that we manage in the county and manage the safety of it. So they got some upgrades in that area. We have our network and security assessment. We're engaging with some companies to do our pen test and to do our complete network evaluation assessment and mapping for the entire county. We have a very complex network in the county with multiple sites, E911 building, our dispatch center, all our fire stations, all our locations. We have a very complex routing system to do that. So we're going to have a company come in and not only do our network assessment and our audit, but also do a digital mapping of our entire network for the county. So we have that for record sakes. It's part of our continuity of business program for the IS department.
And you said they will do pen testing, so that's internal as well.
Yeah, and external. Yeah. But when you start seeking these out, everybody wants to do it now. So we got to make sure that it's somebody that's reputable, it's somebody that's
that's why I ask, because that's usually the most vulnerable part. We
exactly.
Okay.
You know how that goes.
All right.
So we're I don't like to reinvent the wheel, so I check with our neighbors and see who they're using, who they use for years. I've used actually Georgia Tech before. They offer the service for free for cities and counties. So we're also looking into that. Yes, sir.
Are you moving on to the next one? I did want to make a comment on the DOT copier.
Sure.
So you've been working with Director Ammons.
Mm-hmm.
If you could speak about, we are actually going to look at all of the copiers in the county, and there's a kind of a movement in place to upgrade all of the copiers. We have some pretty dated copiers throughout the county, and Alex, and from what I understand, Alex and Director Ammons have been working with Canon and there's going to be some visits from representatives from Canada going from department to department to look at spacing, look at the current copiers that we have in place. And I believe this is going to be under a state contract, and we'll be actually leasing the copiers versus buying them. Alex, could you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that we've been wanting to do for a while, and thankfully, Director Ammons is very familiar with this process. So yeah, Canon has a statewide contract for the state of Georgia. In the county, we have a lot of different copiers throughout the year. All of our sites are different models, different from different years. Some of them are purchased, and some of them are leased through different companies. Copiers are not something that you want to buy. It's a depreciative item that wears out very quickly. And when you buy it, you become responsible for the support services and maintenance of it. So definitely we want to lease out all our copiers, but we also want Canon to come in here and they're going to run a software that's going to scan our accounts for our copiers and determine whether we're underutilized or overutilized. They're going to put in place some scanning devices with OCR, so we're able to digitize better in the county. We're also going to get rid of one of the things that I hate the most, which is desktop printers. There are definitely some departments or some individuals that will, for some reason or the other, will require printers in their desktop. But we really want to move forward towards a model where we have a centralized printing area, and then we can have smaller hubs with network printers, network multifunction printers that are managed by Canon, that the supplies are part of the leasing contract, so we don't have to worry about that. Because you can check with Director Ammons the amount of requests that comes in for printer ink and paper and toner and all that stuff. So that'll be a big project. Canon is coming in next week. They're going to do a full assessment through all the departments. I've encouraged directors and people,
including our printing department downstairs, including.
Well, they recently got a new printer, so I think that they're set. They have requested some software that's part of the next year's this year's ARPA, but this is mostly for the everyday operations.
Okay.
It'll include 911, E911, the sheriff's, the fire stations, the fire admin building, and I have encouraged directors and their support staff to engage also with Canon when they're there and let them know their frustrations and what they're trying to accomplish. So we have a really good holistic picture of what we need moving forward.
And I know it'll make it easier for the IT department as well, because I'm pretty sure you get requests to I'm having printing issues and to remote log on to handle those. So.
Absolutely. We have a lot of printers being directly connected to computers that we cannot manage. So Canon is also providing us with a centralized cloud software that we can manage all these printing. And we could also manage the drivers and the security of it, making sure the firmware is secure. So that's going to be a big positive thing for the county.
Yeah, it's a win-win. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes. And then the last two items are security cameras for the landfill and for the libraries. So we're working with vendors to get the appropriate quotes to move forward with that. I know the library system has cameras that on all the 3 libraries that need to be upgraded. They need to add. I believe they've had some incidents in the parking lot. As well as the landfill, they have it's called an NVR, which is a local storage for video files, which I don't recommend because if that goes bad, then there goes all your videos. So we're looking to upgrade both of those video systems this year. So we're engaging with vendors to get the appropriate quotes and go out there and do the walkthrough and get their recommendations.
And in regards to security camera systems, have we completed the one for the animal services building?
I believe that was a project that they got with NCI. Yeah, we didn't manage that, but
Madam Vice Chair, they have completed that project. The cameras are in place. I've actually been down there to look at them, to view, what the areas that the cameras cover and what have you. And we have In fact, within the last couple of weeks, had some individuals on camera who, this is the main reason why we got the cameras is because individuals were dropping off animals and chaining them to poles and things of that nature. And we've actually had some footage of that, so they're already paying dividends. But that project is complete. I believe Vanessa is wanting one more. But there's kind of a dead area that she'd like to have coverage on. But my question for Alex, will we have some consistency with regard to the camera? Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So that's the main point. The main point is that whatever we have in place, we want to make that centralized.
Mhm.
A lot of agencies use a system called Genetec, which is what a lot of the jails and a lot of the not only manages cameras, but it manages facility access. So that's something that we're looking into. The downside with that is that everything is local hardware dependent, so there's no real cloud services for that. So that's one of the reasons that we are also evaluating other vendors. One of the vendors that we're working with is actually Comcast, because they have a state contract and they have different options. Not to get ahead of myself, one of the things that we want to do next year is put some cameras in the parks. Not just in the parking lots, but in the interior of the parks. Comcast has services with 5G cameras that we don't require any fiber infrastructure to be installed. So, and all the videos are uploaded to the cloud. So that's one of the things that we do want to centralize. We want one system to manage all our security cameras that the courthouse and the county manages. So that's one of the challenges with evaluating all these vendors.
All righty. Thank you for that. Are there any other questions, Commissioner Mitchell or
I'm good. Thank you. I'm good.
Okay. All right, Alex.
Moving forward, we're going to present what we are proposing for this year with our ARPA funding. Some of these projects are critical. Some of them will require discussion. So I'm going to share my screen again. So starting out, we have our data storage upgrade. As I mentioned before, the county is very data heavy, mainly because of the court systems and their requirement to keep case file evidence for an extended period of time. And like I said, these these evidence in their court files, a lot of them are high definition videos and pictures, which are very, very large. And they require a lot of storage, so we need to upgrade our storage system, and also because it's about 7.5 years old. So those disks wear out over time, those hard drive disks. They're not solid state drives. So they still are the old school spinning disks, hard drives. So those do go bad over time. 7 years ago, that's probably the best you could have gotten. But today technology has progressed, so we're looking to add another 60 to 70 usable terabytes to the county. And I believe that'll hold us until we are able to migrate most of our applications to the cloud and hold us steady. So it's a minimal investment for the time that it's going to give us to finally get most of our applications to the cloud, and then we'll reuse or retrofit whatever else we have left. With data increase comes our disaster recovery upgrade, because if you're storing data, you also have to back up data. So last year we did an upgrade. We used ThinkGuard as our disaster recovery partner. They provide backups. They also provide monitoring and testing every quarter. So we bring up our entire system online on the cloud and make sure it's operational. They're a fantastic partner for that. We have other agencies that work with them. For this particular one, this particular upgrade, we're going to upgrade the data capacity of that, because if we're adding 50 terabytes, we also have to add essentially 50 terabytes of backup space, not only locally but also on the cloud.
Do you mind if I ask, and if you don't want to say it on camera, you can
sure.
Just But what is our RPO? What's our recovery point if we go down?
So we are three-stage system.
Uh-huh.
So we have the ability to locally spin up our servers because the ThinkGuard uses both an appliance and a cloud system. So we're able to locally spin up our servers and our data in that appliance during disaster recovery. In a situation where there's a software or hardware issue directly affecting our main operation hardware. If we have a complete natural disaster or whatever it may be, structural issue, we can spin up all our services and data on the cloud on their data center. So we have the capability. We have done that in the past. We've done, and I think in 2020 we did our new web server. We had a update that was pushed out that crashed the server, and we were able to spin up the new world server on the cloud. I think in less than 2 hours. So, so and we do test this every quarter. So, and not only do we test this by bringing it up, but every time there's a backup completed, they scan it for corruption.
Okay.
To make sure that it's a viable backup. And it's also encrypted in transit, so it'll prevent if a lot of situations when your network gets hijacked by a cybersecurity threat, one of the first things they do is that they also encrypt your backups, so you can't restore it. What we do is when we offload these backups to the cloud, it's encrypted not only at rest, so while it's sitting here, but also in transit.
Okay.
So it provides a big SSL layer of security for that backup in case something were to happen. Our backup should be able to get us up and running.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So we also have a request from the DA's office and Madam Chair's office for an e-discovery software for the DA. This is something that they'd like to use to process their documents and evidence and stuff like that. We had the contract for that vendor. It's called NICE or NICE. We have that contract for that vendor. It went through legal. It went through all the appropriate channels. They're excited about getting this in place. It'll make their processing their cases a lot more efficient in that department. The next item that we have has an asterisk because we're still checking with Jill to see if this can be covered under ARPA. But part of our responsibilities to the county is that we have to provide local support for all of our locations. On any given time, I have 2 or 3 engineers out on the field, either delivering equipment or collecting equipment or troubleshooting. Our department vehicles haven't been usable for the past 2 years because we just keep getting stranded. We have hand-me-downs from the fire department and I think 2 from the fire department, but I think we replaced like 4 batteries in them already, and we've all still been stranded. Everybody's been stranded as part of a rite of passage for the department. So if possible, we are requesting to get 2 new vehicles, and something that I threw out there as a possibility is to maybe consider electric vehicles. As you know, the counties has already the charging infrastructure for them. Most of these vehicles have a 100,000-mile warranty on their batteries. I believe that with the cost savings they'll have on fuel and on maintenance, these vehicles will probably pay for themselves within those 100,000 miles. As you all may know, electric vehicles just need windshield wiper fluid and tires. So there's no.
So my question to you in that, or this may be for DCA Pierre or even Commissioner Mitchell probably knows. I don't know much about electric vehicles, but one, when will we know if this can be covered up under ARPA? Or 2, should we utilize this under our capital improvement projects as opposed to ARPA if it's not covered? Or, I don't know. This was a little tricky, Alex.
Yeah. We're just putting out a suggestion. We do need new vehicles, but we're putting out a suggestion. Jill has a meeting with the ARPA team on Monday,
Mhm.
and she's gonna let me know whether this can be covered as part of the technology portion of ARPA. As far as the capital improvement project, I did submit this last year for my department as our 5-year
Oh,
outlook
okay.
for capital improvement. So this is on the list. Um, we're just making a suggestion based on the usage that we see and based on the way that other counties are moving forward on this, and trying to save as much uh, cost as we can, and also um, stay operational in our department.
Get that. Get that. DCA Perry.
Yeah, it's good to hear that Alex, that you reached out to Jill Hobson. She would be the one to kind of let us know if ARPA funds can be used for this. I also got a text in to Ross Clark to see if we do in fact have any cars in our current fleet that are electric. So if you're saying that this is something that counties are moving towards, you know, I would like to see how that would work with us. We're currently working with Fleet, myself and Ross and Heath to see if you know, doing something countywide, much like the copiers we're trying to lease. We're trying to work with Enterprise. Some counties are working with Enterprise to lease cars for a certain period of time versus purchasing them, and they're swearing by that to let us know that there's a huge cost savings in that. So we've been looking at that. So it's good to hear, you know, with, you know, what you're thinking about as far as electric cars concerned, and we're going to bring that to the person that we've been talking with Enterprise to see, you know, if that's an option for us as well. But Jill will be the person to let us know if Jill or Madam ACA would be the person to let us know if ARPA funds can be used to purchase those cars.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and that's why we put an asterisk on it, because we still have to check up on it. And we'll see what comes back.
Okay.
So the next project that we have is actually something that's you know, very critical in my opinion to the county, is an electronic timesheet and timekeeping module from New World. We're looking into timekeeping and electronic timesheet software. We're looking at a New World module called ExecuTime, which ties into our current platform. And it allows us to be, right now the way we manage our timesheets is basically it's a spreadsheet that you submit to your director, and then your director inputs it manually into New World. It's not a very effective system when it comes to operations. So what this module will do is everybody will have an account. You input your own timesheet. It'll have checks and balances to make sure that you're notating the appropriate vacation time, time off, PTO days or comp days. It'll help us track and approve these times, and also have electronic time clocks for our part-time staff and our hourly staff, where they can clock in. Right now we have 5 different time clock vendors on 5 different systems that range from biometric to some computer sitting in the back of and in a cubicle that somebody clocks into. So we will standardize that, and it'll all tie into our current ERP software, our current platform, which already hosts our HR modules. And then we'll be able to track your time and track your time off, and have a better idea, better audit capabilities of all that data.
And DCA Perry, this will tie into what we already can log in if we need to update like our direct deposit and all that type of stuff. It'll tie into it.
eSuite is what we currently have.
Right.
And it would tie into that and work in conjunction with eSuite. This is big for us. I'm glad to see that we're, you know, finally going to make the investment into it. It is an investment. It takes a while for implementation of it, but it's something that's widely needed for a county of our size. You know,
so 180,000, is that a one-time and then there's maintenance after that. Is there a subscription fee? Like, how are we?
Exactly. So it's 180,000 for deployment. I added a little bit more because on the initial quote, it doesn't really have. It all depends on how many time clocks you want to have, physical time clocks you want to have. So we'll have to go through the departments that actually utilize that. But it's about $160,000 for the first time deployment, and then it's about $110,000 going forward. After
So, okay, so this will not be one where you can log on from your computer. This will be a manual time clock.
No, you could log onto your computers, but we do have departments that still require the utilization of physical time clocks.
Okay.
So this gives you the option of doing both.
You do both. Okay, gotcha. All right. Okay.
And then moving forward, we're going to continue using some of these funds for our laptop hardware recycling for our laptops. There's still some departments that require new computers. Just to give an idea, last year we were able to order 30 set or 50 something laptops with the $100,000. So we have about 1,000 users. So slowly but surely we'll get these out there. We have a list of critical departments that have the older systems, and we have a end of life cycle policy that we follow for that.
Alex, we're actively moving away from the all desktops and moving to laptops. Is that
yes?
Okay.
Yeah, because the price difference between a desktop and a laptop are about $200 these days. So it's having the capability of being able to be independent from a physical location with a desktop, in my opinion, is worth that investment.
Yeah.
So we do have to go off site, but we do have to travel. A lot of departments are not necessarily static. You have the capability without having to have two pieces of equipment.
Got you. And we do have a policy, and I'm assuming that this would be in IT, that when somebody leaves the county, they turn in their laptop, their equipment to IT to be.
Yeah, we have a physical and a digital asset tracking.
Okay.
Capabilities for our laptops.
Okay.
And our mobile devices and our phone. And then so next we still have the end of life for our networking equipment through all our sites. This is part of our security infrastructure. We don't upgrade our switches and our routers. They become a liability compromise point. So we do have some networking equipment that's about 6 to 7 years old that needs to be replaced. So that's what we're requesting with that. We also have a project that I've been wanting to do, which is a SharePoint development project. I'd like to get a SharePoint site developed for every department, and then also a main SharePoint site for the county. The goal of this is so that any employee will be able to go on a link on the county website and log into their SharePoint portal, have access to their individual department SharePoints with all their files, all their forms that they need. And then on the main county SharePoint, we'll have calendars, links to the time clock, links to eSuite, links to New World, announcements, general forms like time off request forms and expense reports and all that stuff. And then it'll also have a link to your individual department where you would have more segregated access than anybody else, depending on your role. And the overall goal of this is to make a virtual workspace that you can function as if you were sitting on your desk at the office.
And you said all of this would be RBAC, role-based access control. Every department, you guys would set that up, or?
Yeah, so our SharePoint developer will essentially migrate all their data and create the access that they currently have, depending on their role, to their files. And as we move forward, as you see, there's a trend here of digitizing everything and moving everything to the cloud, and that's all done on purpose. So as we move forward, you'll be able to access this portal, and there'll be a link to the website where it'll be that software that you use for that department, whether it's Camino, whether it's New World, whether it's permitting software. You'll be able to operate the county from anywhere in the world. with internet connection.
All right. Wow.
So we'd like to get this stuff. It's a little bit complicated. For like us, we're a SharePoint administrator, but we need like a SharePoint developer to come in
Exactly.
and build this stuff out for us.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of companies that I've worked for in the past. I've done this for the city of Valdosta and the city of Decatur. So we're reaching out to them, and hopefully we get something done this year. I think it'll be very exciting for the county to be able to have that. As well.
Yeah.
Right now, we have departments that do have SharePoint sites, but there's no standardization, there's no interconnectivity to the county, and
I didn't think we had it at all. So the fact that you're even bringing it up, you know.
Oh well, the fire department actually has a very extensive one that they use.
Okay.
But it doesn't tie into anything else in the county. There's not a holistic overview of everything else. So we'd like to tie all that in. Not necessarily replace theirs, but make it tie into the rest of everybody's in the county.
Okay.
And this is all essentially, most of it is already paid for because it's part of our Office 365 suite to have access to SharePoint. So there's no, we don't anticipate any additional software costs. The next item we have is a Wi-Fi network upgrade for the sheriff's office. This is something that the sheriff's office requested. As y'all remember, we did this for the courthouse back in 2021. We upgraded all the Wi-Fi in the courthouses and some of the other buildings around the county. The sheriff's office is having the same issues we've had back in 2021 where their equipment, needs to get replaced. They rely heavily on Wi-Fi because I believe that some of their body cams and vehicle cams use that network to upload some of those videos and to operate around their buildings. So this is something that they requested and something that I sponsor and recommend that we do for them.
So you would be able to work with, because I know they have their own IT department. So this is something you are doing in conjunction with them to help them. Yeah,
this is something that I reached out to Rod. He's on the call.
Oh, okay.
And asked him, last time we did ARPA, we didn't include the sheriff's department. So this year I wanted to make sure that they got a request in for what's critical for them. And this is what they identified.
Hi, how are you? You'd like to give us some info in regards to this request?
I'm good. Good afternoon. Good to see y'all. It is pretty straightforward. Our facility was built in 2012. Our Wi-Fi network was installed at that time. It's starting to show its age, and we're due for an equipment upgrade. We want to bring everything up to date and bring it to current security protocols and data speeds, bandwidth. Also to note too, with that number, we do save the county a lot of money by doing all of our own labor. We're doing all of our own cabling and equipment installations.
Okay. Good to know. Okay. Sounds good. All righty. Do you have any questions, Commissioner Mitchell, regarding the upgrade to the sheriff's office? I guess not. Okay, we're moving on. Thank you. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you, Ross.
Always good to see you.
So moving forward, you heard me talk about this in the last presentation, is security cameras for the parks. We've had some incidents at the parks that I think would have been having security cameras, not just in the parking lot, but also in the interior of the park would have been very helpful. This provides safety for the citizens. It provides a resource for law enforcement as well. To be able to have these videos. This is something that a lot of municipalities and agencies are doing across the state. And we're engaging with, like I said, Comcast and other vendors that that are already providing these services. Georgia Power is also one of them. And we can look into something like installing cameras in the interior of the park and some of the trails, maybe some license plate readers at the parking lot. So we'd like to pursue that further, maybe pick one park and make that a project a standard for the rest of the parks or the rest of the public facilities. But that's something that I suggest, and I spoke to Gary about it. He was excited about that.
Yeah, he's been asking for this for quite a while. I know as long as I've been on the Parks and Recs committee, he says the cameras that they do have are very outdated. They're grainy. You can't really see much.
Yeah, and with new technology, as you're aware, we no have to be responsible for all this hardware.
Mhm.
We can lease these things. We can pay a service for them to, for a company like Comcast or Georgia Power, and they'll manage the hardware and they'll manage the connection and they'll upload the video files for us and they'll replace them if they get broken, upgrade them when they get updated. So we don't have this depreciating liability on our hands, and have them take care of that.
Got you. And so that 25,000, is that just for one park as a project, or?
I think that'll cover about one part. We'll obviously try to do as much as we can with that, but I think before we go and start, doing something major, I think we should get one part
As a test case.
as a test, as a pilot,
Yeah.
and make sure that we like it, and then we can move forward. Parks has different funding mechanisms than everybody else, so
Right.
we can move forward with that once we determine that it's worth the effort. We also have other AV upgrades for the courts. This is for the rest of the courtrooms. As I mentioned before, we're completing all of the Superior Court courtrooms. So we want to have funding so that we can work with Judge McLean and determine which other courts are priority to have their audio-visual replaced. I will say that I think this funding will go a little bit further than the last one, because I don't believe the rest of the courts needs some sort of extensive like evidence presentation software and multimedia as the Superior Court, because the Superior Court has juries and all of that. I think the rest of the courts have less of a resource dependency as a Superior Court, so I think we'll be able to get a lot more done than 3 courtrooms with this.
I will ask in terms of the AV upgrade, or even possibly computer upgrade, is have you checked with juvenile? Because I've heard that they will be holding court or session off site at one of the CSB facilities.
No, I have not checked with Jennifer, but I will. We're just trying to get
ask just to make sure that they're supported, because this will be something new for them. Because usually, of course, they do it at the courthouse, but now that they are trying to meet the need of the juvenile and the parents, where they are, I think they're utilizing the new youth center for CSB, and so we just want to make sure that we support them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the way this process usually works, we secure the funding, and then we meet with the individual judges and we ask them what their priorities are, and then we let them know what's allocated to them, and whether maybe they want a complete top and down remodel, maybe they want to use some of that funding for something else related to the court systems technology. If juvenile wants like a mobile setup, that's something we can look into. But that's usually how the process works. We just secure the funding and we let them decide what priority for them.
How to spend it. Okay.
Exactly. Our next item is the main AC unit for our server room, our Liebert unit, which I believe is about 30-something years old, finally gave out on us. It is very expensive to fix because a lot of the parts are not made anymore. Mm-hmm. Thankfully, last year we did that backup AC unit, so we held pretty steady. We're holding it about 72 degrees Fahrenheit, which is
still low.
It's not terrible, but it's not great. And I'm worried about the summer season when it comes along.
Right. Yeah.
So we definitely want to get another mini split installed in there like we did last time. I think between the two of them, we'll have enough coverage in the server room. I think our server room is about like 500, 600 square feet. So I think that, and as we remove some of the old equipment and dissipate some of that heat, we're also going to have lower temperatures. But as of now, it's critical that we get another unit in there. Then we have software upgrade for GIS. GIS is very resource intensive with their computers, as you know. And lately we've been tasking GIS with even more and more data requests and modules, and currently they're working with our customer service department to create surveys and KPIs and stuff like that, which is very resource intensive to create these things. So they have requested some hardware, some high performing laptops and desktops for their department. They also want to upgrade some of their websites that tie into the tax commissioner and tax assessor's office. And these will allow the citizens to get a better idea and a more accurate data about their properties and their taxes and their that information that they usually access through the tax assessor's office. As you know, last year the tax assessor implemented Q Public,
Right.
so this will tie into that as well. Then we have facilities management software requests from the developmental services. One of the goals that we tried to accomplish when we were moving to the permitting and licensing software is that we tried to find something that encompassed all of that needs. So it was facility licensing, permitting, and all that. Unfortunately, we couldn't find a software that we recommended that handled all that. And as you know, we have a lot of facilities in the county, and we need some sort of software to maintain and manage the requests and keep track of all the things that we're doing at them, HVC and all of that. So this is something that the developmental services also requested in their technology request. Again, the more we digitize, the better of idea. The more data we have, the better idea we have of the status of the county. This is another request from the IS department is we need to add some of our doors to their access card security system. As you know that CGIS and GCIC manages we operate under their policy for access to secure locations. So our server rooms, our data closets, our offices, and our storage areas both have equipment and data that are under the GCIC program or policy, which requires authorized users to access them. Right now, we have a keypad system with a code that gets reset every once in a while, but everybody has the same code. There's no audit tracking of who accesses the server room at any given time, which is the only way to get to the server room is to get through our door. But again, it's one code for everybody, so I wouldn't be able to tell you who accessed it when. So Mark got us a quote to be added to the current access card system that we have that's managed by the sheriff's department. And I'd like to proceed with that just to add an extra layer of security and be compliant with our GCIC policies for our department. The initial quote was $8,000. It expired, so we don't know what the new quote is going to come up to, but I don't see it being over $10,000. We're adding, I believe, 4 doors to the system with strike plates and access cards, and we'll be able to use the same access cards that we have that are assigned to us individually.
Okay, so it'll be the same system that we have upstairs with the VLCC.
Yeah, it's the same one that the sheriff department manages. It'll be the same access cards, and then we'll determine based on GCIC who has access to those areas.
Okay. Right.
Another software that we'd like to implement is something for maybe for public works. Right now they're using a software called Cardiograph, and I think it's been in place for like 10 or 15 years in the county. It's run locally. There's no cloud solution for it. So we would like to look at something like CityWorks or SeeClickFix, where it has some input from the citizens. They can report, potholes or streetlight outages, and we can track those work orders and the status of that. And the citizens can also track that. So some counties, as you know, they use a self-reporting app where citizens can report issues to their public works departments directly.
I thought that's what we were doing. We're not doing that because I know there's a space on the website on Celebrate Douglas County.
Yes, we are doing that, but I don't think we have a software for that. I think it's more of a manual reporting.
Okay.
So we don't have like an app or some sort of like overall system that manages that.
Gotcha.
It's cloud based. So like Gwinnett County uses SeeClickFix, which is like an app that you download. And then you can literally take a picture of whatever, whether it could be code enforcement or public works, and it submits to the county with the geotag location of where it was taken. So we can track that, and the citizens can have they can track that work order. So we'll work with the public works department to see what their needs are. But I think it's one of those departments that can really benefit from having some sort of software to manage their area.
I think, and if I'm not mistaken, can you check with GIS at Dean, because I think Esri has that as well.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, because we're already using it. So if we could tie in,
yeah,
at that,
Esri definitely has it. It's a module that Ed has put together, but it's not. It serves like one purpose. It doesn't. I don't think there's trackability available with that. So we'll check with that. But this is something that it might be beneficial for them to look into.
Okay. All right.
And then we have the printing department requested an upgrade for their Canon Prisma software for their big copier. This is something that they requested in their technology request. They're currently upfitting that whole department down there, so we wanted to add it to our ARPA list. It's not that costly.
Right, and it's definitely needed.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely. Yeah, we last year we gave them access to Creative Suite from Adobe, so they're able to create better graphics and stuff like that.
If I could, Alex, add for Madam Vice Chair, we are going to have Mark Poole. I've been working with him since he's been here in developing a comprehensive overview of the print shop, its current state of affairs, the equipment that we have in there, how it's outdated and everything. And he's going to make a comprehensive presentation to the Board of Commissioners during the next round of meetings. So we've kind of been, back and forth as to when it'd be most effective for him to present. But he feels as though he has enough information now to give you all a full view of what we have and where we need to go with the print department. He sent out a survey to try and get a gauge on what print projects are currently being shopped out. We're taking it to Staples and everything. And he's saying that right now, with the new printer that he has the capability to do a lot of the programs that we do, the swearing in ceremony, Operation Greenlight. He was responsible for all of that. And, I do want to add that he's not only, well-versed in printing, he's very technologically sound. So he's familiar with all the software and things of that nature. So, you can send him something and he'll make recommendations as far as graphics are concerned. He's working on branding for the county and everything. So he's been busy down there, and he's going to come during the next round of meetings to give you all a full comprehensive view of our print shop. And it will include that Canon Prisma software that Alex just talked about.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for that. So, is this the complete suggested list that your department is putting forward for us to consider as a recommendation for 2023?
Yes, and as you can see, differently from last year, we're not dividing it into quarters. One of the issues that we had last year is that if we wait on certain things, by the time that legal gets through with it, by the time that hardware is ordered, it's something that we probably could have started earlier on. Being that this list is a lot shorter than last year's, this is something that whatever the committee decides to approve, we'd like to start working on it as soon as possible so we can, try to meet the deadline of completing these within this year.
I'll open the floor for any questions or suggestions. I know as far as me, I'm fine with the list. The only one, of course, that raised any flags for me were the support vehicles, but I know that the department will get back to you in regards to that. But with all the other ones, I definitely see the need and glad to see we're moving forward. Are there any questions in regards to this or any suggestions? Hearing none, then I will ask for a motion to approve the 2023 ARPA Technology Project list as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, who seconded?
Major Woodstock.
Okay, Major Woodstock, you can't second it. It has to be a committee member. But thank you, I appreciate it.
I apologize.
Glad to see you on board.
I know, I love it.
I'll
So
second his second.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. So I have a motion and a second to accept the 2023 ARPA Technology projects as listed. And I will start the vote. So DCA Perry. DCA Perry, is that a yes?
Yes, it is. I'm sorry, I couldn't get off of mute.
No problem. Commissioner Mitchell. Is he still on with us? Okay, he's not. Alex Betancourt
Yes.
and Commissioner Carthen, I vote yes. So we have a 3-0 vote and the motion carries to move this forward. Is there
Okay, thank
anything
you.
else to come before the committee?
There's one last thing that I wanted to give an update on, which is our recruiting and staff update. I think the last time we did this was back in 2021.
Mhm.
And I'll share my screen. As you remember, back in 2021, we had about 5 or 6 individuals in the EIS department supporting about 1,000 or 1,200 users at a time.
Okay.
So with the board's county administrator support, we were able to build up our department to be more in line with our neighbors and our needs. So we have some positions out. We have one position out there that we're recruiting for, that we've been recruiting for the past 3 months, which is for a senior network engineer. As you know, in the technology field, it's difficult to get recruits these days.
Yes.
So we're hoping that changes as the environment kind of levels out a little bit. So we have some candidates coming in on Friday for a second round of technical interviews.
Awesome.
So this is our structure as it sits right now at the IS department. So we have the CTO at top, and then Elliot is our IT manager. We have a senior program analyst, Tamara, that she works directly with me on our line of business application rollouts and upgrades, and she works directly with the rest of the departments to make sure that New World is operating and adding whatever functions that each department needs to be efficient. And then under that, we have Will, which is our infrastructure supervisor. He manages the security. He manages the technical aspect of the security network and server team, which is comprised of Fieldens, which is our senior project engineer and system administrator. Our senior engineer that we still are yet to hire. And we have Tim, which is our system administrator in charge of servers and software. And then we have Taylor, which is our PC support specialist. We have Brittany, she's a PC support specialist that also is dedicated to the courts. So she comes from the court system, she understands our process. We have Twan, he's also a PC support specialist, but he specializes also in helping out communications with their streaming meetings, and you've probably seen him in a lot of the committee meetings.
Yeah.
We have Tristan, he's also a PC support specialist. Teresa's a new hire. She's working out great as a PC support specialist. And we have Tavares, so we call him PK. He's also a PC support specialist. So this is your team. This is your IS department. And we'd like to thank the board and the county administration for giving us the resources and the ability to put these teams together. These are great individuals. I've worked for a lot of agencies and a lot of municipalities. This is the best team that I've ever had. And we can actually show something that that we wanted to show, or Wendy it's going to show for us, but we have an actual breakthrough of our surveys. Every ticket that we send out, the user gets a survey of satisfaction service on how our department operates.
Mhm.
And for 2022, this is the this is for 2020. Oh, I'll share my screen so you guys can see that really quick.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
So our overall survey is exceptional, with a little bit of good. For our department, our responsive and timely manner is excellent. And then we asked how frequently they would like to receive the survey. We asked what do they agree with the following statement: the service made is easy to handle, my issue. Strongly agree, and agree are top feedback that we get. And then we also have like individual written surveys response from each engineer that we have. So there's a system we have in place, so not only we can track our effectiveness as an operation or satisfaction with our users, but also we can individually track how each engineer is doing, as it being responded to their job performance. So that's something that we wanted to present to the committee to show that the satisfaction from the users in the county is an overall exceptional for
That's
the
really
IS department.
good. That's really good. This is good performance key indicators to kind of let you guys know how well, people are, you're responding to the needs of the users. So thank you for sharing that. This is the type of stuff that really I like. And of course, it should come from you guys because you're IT, right? So data.
Yeah. We'll overwhelm me with data if you want.
So I appreciate you sharing this, and to everybody in the IT department, welcome on board to our new people, and thank you so much. When I took this committee, I really didn't know what to expect, and I didn't want to be a nuisance, and that I know something, but then I don't, So and every IT department, no matter where you work, has their own processes and ways of doing things. And so it's been a joy to work with Alex and kind of, spin this committee to another way from where it was. So kudos to you, Alex, for taking the helm and the leadership. And I really appreciate working with you guys. You're doing a great job. And to see all of the technology and the way that this county is moving forward is huge. It's so needed. So again, thank you, and kudos to you and your team. Job well done. I can't wait to start using some of these things.
Yeah, we can't wait to deployment, and we thank you for your expertise. It's really a blessing having somebody chair the committee and be part of a group that does this for a living.
Yeah, this is cool. So thank you guys. If there's any other business to come before the committee?
Not from our end.
Okay. If not, Director Perry? Yes.
Well, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Well, if not, this meeting stands adjourned. Thank you all.